The second night. When evening fell, King Shahryar hastened to Shahrazad and said to her, "Bring forth the rest of the story." Shahrazad smiled and said, "It has reached me, O happy king, that after the genie heard the first old man's story, he turned to the second old man and asked him about his tale. The second old man said, "O genie, if you have pardoned this merchant a third of his blood, then hear my story, and if it pleases you, then pardon the second third." The genie replied mockingly, "Let us hear it, but I doubt it will make me pardon this man." The second old man stepped forward fearfully to tell his story and called out to the two dogs with him, saying, "Come closer, my brothers." The genie was astonished. "Your brothers?" The man continued, "Yes, they are my brothers, O genie. I was a fisherman who earned his living from the sea. One day, a mermaid accidentally fell into my net and became entangled. But when I saw her weeping, I took pity on her and freed her from the net, letting her return to the sea as a free being. She thanked me for my kindness. After returning to my village, my brothers persuaded me to join them in a sea trade, promising me great profits. I was convinced, and we all set sail. On our return journey, after a successful trade, they conspired to get rid of me out of greed for my share. They bound me with ropes and threw me into the sea. I almost drowned, but the mermaid I had rescued suddenly appeared and brought me to the shore. She told me that she was enchanted and that she had punished my brothers for their deed, transforming them into dogs to remain so for the rest of their lives. Then she chanted to them, saying, "Take now your punish from wrongful deed, and taste the unfair of the grave's seed. Your sin outweighs the mountain's might, so slumber long in endless night." Since that day I have travelled the lands, praying to God to forgive them. The genie fell silent, then said, "I have pardoned the second third of the merchant's blood." Finally, the merchant stood up and said in a humble voice, raising his hands to the heavens, "O hearer of complaints, O revealer of afflictions, I have come to you willingly and traversed the darkness in haste. When I erred unknowingly, I was clothed in the garment of death. Shall the reward of innocence be anything but pardon and forgiveness?" Then he turned to the genie and said, "O genie, allow me to tell you my story in exchange for the pardon of the remaining third." He began to recount wondrous tales in a trembling voice, but they did not please the genie. When the genie was about to kill him, the merchant pleaded, "Do you not find my story wondrous? I travelled in the desert seeking sustenance, and I sat down to rest, and I ate dates and threw their pits, and I killed your son by mistake. I asked for a reprieve, and I did not flee, and I returned to you. And I met these two old men with their wondrous stories, and you pardoned 2/3 of my blood. Is not this story of mine the most wondrous of all?" The genie fell silent, thinking, then said to himself, "Indeed, this is a wondrous story." His anger subsided, and he left the merchant unharmed, vanishing into the desert. Then Shahrazad said, "And so, my lord, the merchant was saved by his truthfulness, patience, compassion for the weak, reliance on God, and keeping his promise." Shahryar was captivated by the story and said with eagerness, "And what happened next, O Shahrazad?" She smiled and said, "Tomorrow I will tell you about Ali Baba and the enchanted cave." Shahryar said, "The enchanted cave? And what is its story?" Shahrazad replied with a smile, "Tomorrow you shall know, my lord, for dawn has broken, and I must cease speaking the permitted speech." And so, the king remained enthralled by the beauty of her words, until he forgot his anger and fell in love with her. She continued to tell him stories until his heart changed, his soul was elevated, and he knew the meaning of mercy.